starting to record now. Hello, everyone. My name is Peter Kostov, and the guy on the left is called
Andrew Hutchings.
Nice to see you all, guys. So what we are going to talk about today is actually our first episode of our podcast. We tried to do it so many times before, but obviously no audio. Imagine like 2 hours recording and then you find out you're just mimes. You're just mimes.
Yep, completely useless.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what happened the first 2 times. So yeah,
But we are
let's.
persevering and bringing you this episode.
I guess that's one of the rules of what means to be masculine.
Yes, this is a podcast or whatever you want to call it on masculinity, but not in the ridiculous sense like it's kind of being pushed on the internet now about being alpha, ignore your pain, just push through things, just always push, push, push. Intelligence is also important in knowing when it's smart to maybe take it a little easy, listen to your body, and then push at the right time.
So strategy, basically.
You can't be masculine if you're just an idiot, a brute. You're masculine in a sense, but
I think there is a
man.
I think there is a difference between being masculine and successful and stuff. That's just one part of everything. Everyone should have male and I guess female traits. Like I sing for example. Sometimes I just have few singers that I can imitate very good, and I'm very happy about it. You know, it gives me joy in life after you destroyed your legs with 2 kilometers of sled dragging.
That's very good.
Yeah, you really get in the cardio.
But I think there's also a difference between being masculine and being a man, because masculinity is just a trait of men. But to be a true man, you need more than just being masculine.
Yeah.
But perhaps it's just semantics with words and stuff.
Yeah, it sounds very reasonable to me. Well, first trait I want to talk about willpower. Tell me something from your life that you really had to push. You really had to persist on it.
Well, one thing, not necessarily the hardest thing I've faced, or just one good example for this video, good for telling everybody, is so when I was in high school, I was a very good student. I got perfect grades. I'm almost perfect, not literally 100% in every single class, but like close to it. Did all the advanced science classes, did wrestling, went to the gym 3-4 days a week, did a lot. But I got some very serious injuries in my last. They started in my second to last year of high school. It was a series of injuries. And that really made it hard to focus on and do well in school. And then compounding those injuries was health issues that were largely caused from treatments related to the injuries. So my life was
By
turned
doctors.
Doctors' actions and their lack of actions. That's something that many doctors fail to comprehend, that not doing anything can be just as bad or worse than doing something. And sadly, most doctors are incompetent and just don't want to do anything. Like, oh, well, we don't, it might be help, but we're not sure, so we're not going to do anything. But yeah, long story short, life turned upside down, very hard to do well in school. I almost failed out of my university twice, or maybe 3 times. See, I don't really remember because my focus was on living. Like some days, because I had blood poisoning, my vision would even go black and like I'd wake up on the ground, good thing it didn't happen that strongly when I was driving to and from school. Like, it actually did happen, but luckily not to the point where I passed out. But bottom line is, I just never gave up. I knew that I'm gonna finish my university. I want to work as a doctor. I want to work as a scientist. I want to work as both. Like, I love the science that is medicine. Sadly, a lot of people that want to work as doctors are not scientists and they don't love science. You can't be a true doctor if you don't love the science of it, and if you're not good at it and understand it very well. Yeah, I even had professors that, like, they told me a lot of things. Like I said, I almost failed out 3 times. So if you saw a student with like horrible grades, you'd be like, well, I think, like, as one of them said, you should change your ambitions. Don't try to go to medical school. You're not going to go to medical school. Your grades are too bad, like, blah, blah, blah. And I told him, like, I want to go to medical school and be able to work as a doctor. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to change my mind. And I managed to get my grades up to the point where they're acceptable for medical schools. And I'm in medical school right now.
So you basically told them to go fuck themselves.
Yep. Oh, what's
That's
funny
what.
is actually it's not related to this story of hardship. But actually, when I was in high school, I said I got pretty much perfect grades. But my first year of high school, I got a B in chemistry. And I wanted to take the advanced AP chemistry class, which is like a college class. And they tried to convince me not to do it. Like, I had to bring my mom in. They had to have some special school person come in with the teacher. And then I signed papers acknowledging that, like, I can't quit the class. And, like, if I do bad, I can't stop after a few days or switch or anything. They really tried to talk me out of it. But then I got like a 98% in advanced chemistry.
Okay. Well, that's
You got to know what you want and do it. Don't let people talk you out of it. You want something, keep working on it until you get it, because then you won't fail.
so willpower is about you being convinced in something first. It's not only about you being strict with yourself. It's about you knowing exactly what you want, and that will support you in finishing the whole task.
It's very hard to finish a task if you don't know exactly what it is. A good example that my high school wrestling coach used is that there was this person that tried to swim from the coast of California to Catalina, which is an island. I don't know, maybe it's like 20 miles, 25 miles off the coast. I'm not sure. But this person tried swimming it a couple times. And I don't remember all the details of the story, but it wasn't until they, like, actually were told how much further they had to go. It's not similar, but not exactly knowing your goals. But yeah, they accomplished it once they knew how far they had to go versus just going at it blind and not knowing at what point they were. But yeah, you're not going to know where you are in a lot of things in life, so it's not the best example.
So it's like pacing yourself during a fight, let's say, because if you know how much time you have until the end of the round, you know how much energy you can give.
Yep.
Okay, I see your point. So milestones, you need to have a clear vision, clear goal, and you need to have milestones put the first objective, the second, and the third. That's what I'm getting from your information right now.
I think that's a good idea. Like, even really small timescale milestones, like if you're into bodybuilding, your milestone of the day is to go to the gym and lift the weights. Your milestone of the week is to go to the gym maybe 3 times, maybe break a record. And you have milestone of the month, of the year.
Okay, great. We established two of the completely necessary things for willpower. You need to know what you want, and you need to have a milestone, and the third thing, I'm just going to add it, you need to have a deadline.
I largely agree with that, although like with me in school, I didn't have a deadline.
Yeah,
Like
everyone
I
has a
was,
deadline. I mean, you can die at any point, so
I know,
I'm
but I
okay.
didn't
That
plan on
was
ever giving up.
a lazy attempt at making a joke. So let's continue with something else, like the second quality of being a man.
Being a philosopher, or do you want to go with something else first and get to that one later?
Being a philosopher is actually a very good topic. I always thought that you shouldn't separate your scientists from your warriors, because at the end, science will be done by cowards and war will be done by fools.
We see that a
So,
lot today.
yeah, like somewhere where in Ukrainish, the Ukrainish region, I guess.
Near
Yeah,
me, I'm in Belarus.
okay. I heard that there Lukashenko said that you don't need to wear a mask.
I love Lukashenko. Like I love being in Belarus. I love that I don't need to wear a mask if I'm at my. So the only time, like the other day, I actually wore a mask, um, but it was because I didn't want to deal with the hassle. I just wasn't in the mood to argue with people, and I wanted to get some blood work done. But most days, like I'm at my university and I don't wear a mask, I don't social distance, and I've been told I need to wear a mask, and I'm just like, is it a law? But now I don't even say, is it a law? I just say, it's not the law. And they tell me, it's our rule. And I say, Lukashenko says I don't need to wear a mask. And they're like, would you listen to your president if he was stupid? I said, it's not about my president. Lukashenko is the president here. I listen to Lukashenko. I don't wear a mask.
That that sounded actually like a attack on you, because if your president was stupid, would you listen to him? Sounds a lot like Biden to me. I mean,
It's an attack on me, but also there's a lot of people here, pathetic people who don't like Lukashenko because he's a manly man. He doesn't believe in the, as he calls it, the psychosis or the
the mass psychosis.
something like a psychosis with coronaviruses, and I agree completely.
That let's not talk about that right now. We don't need to get shadow banned from our first video. So yeah, the second trait was philosophy. We just showed you what a bit of philosophy means. You need to think with your own experience, with your own brain.
For example, when everybody around you is getting sick with something multiple times a year and completely okay, you don't freak out, get a bunch of stress, and be afraid of everything. You just live your life and enjoy. Because
Yeah,
does
I
it make
mean,
sense to be afraid of something that you get 3 times a year and doesn't hurt you? It doesn't.
I was happy to have it only once, and yeah, I don't feel like I'm getting it twice, so it's
I got
fine
it
with me.
twice this year.
Okay, you win. Uh, so
But philosophy applies to a much larger breadth of things rather than just this, but it certainly is important not to get caught up in craziness that stresses you out, to stay focused on your own life, because at the end of the day, you can't change everything in the world. So you have to use your brain and realize you got to focus on yourself, do what you can do. Don't worry about things you can't change. And
I guess
always think.
thinking about how many dollars were printed the last 2 years, it's a very good thing. I mean, the inflation will be astronomical. I'm saying it with a smile on my face, but not because I like it. I mean, who would like it? I mean, everything would get just fucked. The point is that if you know something is coming and you see everyone around who doesn't see it coming, you just get, I don't know, sarcastic. It's
Yep, because it's like you can try to tell people and then they just don't want to listen. So what can you do? You can't be in a bad mood over it. You have to just try to be happy. And that's another thing. No matter how shitty life may be, you can't, if you can't change it, just enjoy it as much as you can. Now, this may sound crazy, but even if you're in a horrible situation, you can enjoy it. Like I've got a kind of friend from high school that he decided to travel to somewhere in South America after high school, and he ended up being homeless, living there for like a year and a half or 2 years, extremely physically hard. He was wet and cold and like starving a lot, but as he said, it's one of the best, perhaps the best experience he's had in his life. And I think that's a great experience. Like I think that's better than going to college or something. I've got a friend in Ukraine right now. We would video chat, and there would be missiles going by. You could hear them. He was not freaking out, just focusing on online marketing. And I think it's going to be a good experience for him to have experienced that. I mean, if as long as you live and you don't like lose an arm or something, it's a good experience.
he'll tell to his children, yeah, when he was working, there were bombs and rockets flying around, and it seems like the next generation wouldn't be able to work that productive like we did,
Yeah, but there's
or we
other
are.
people, like the parents of someone I know, they're just popping pills to stay calm underground, just freaking out. I mean, I don't blame them. Like it is scary, but yeah, there's different kinds of people. Personally, I believe that as long as you didn't die or get disfigured or something, that it's a good experience.
Well, stress can lead to many illnesses, so I don't know how good this experience is, but it certainly teaches you something. So
Perhaps it's
philosophy.
not good, but you have to approach things differently, or else you're always going to be in a bad mood. Just try to make the best of everything.
Well, a friend of mine says that happy means strong. Whenever someone is happy, he is also stronger. Like everything, morale is higher. He is more inspired. So I guess happiness has something to do with people succeeding more often. But sometimes, of course, happiness can be too much, and it can prevent people from ever taking any measures.
Yeah, it's like if you just take antidepressants and stay happy all the time instead of addressing the root problems of your unhappiness.
Yeah, actually, that was something I read about because I'm into spirituality, and when people meditate, they actually use meditation to alleviate problems from from now. They just haven't. They're not in the point, and they're not in the place that they want to be. That's why they need to meditate. And it's no different than taking drugs or smoking weed or just drinking alcohol. It's an attempt to medicate the lack of something in your life. And if you're really spiritual, you wouldn't be needing meditation because you would be doing exactly what your mission is.
Interesting. I've never thought about that in meditation. I've never really meditated, but I have done something that I would consider a form of meditation, which will probably come off just sounding like I'm crazy, but it's working from your most conscious level downwards and then finding the root of something, and kind of, maybe this is good, maybe it's bad, but, and it probably just sounds crazy, but after you work down to that deeper level, edit the issue, fix it, and rebuild it back up. Probably sounds ridiculous, but I've done it a couple times, and
So
something that I
an
really,
example of this would be someone has a depression, they're living, let's say, somewhere where when there is no sun, let's say in Denmark, and they don't know that they have vitamin D deficiency, and that causes them all sorts of health problems which cause their depression. Going deep and
Similar.
understanding that this is the root cause is the key solution, and people should understand that. Over the counter medication and pain pills are not something that will ever have like any positive effect on you unless you, yeah. So there is a place for them, but they're not healing.
Yeah. And what you said is similar, although what I'm thinking of is a little bit different. So
Yeah,
what
speak
should
your
we
mind.
talk about now?
Well, the third part of masculinity, we had already willpower. We gave a lot of examples of being philosophical, and
On
I just want to make one point about philosophy. Philosophy is the combination of physical intelligence and emotional intelligence and the intelligence. I don't know how to call that
an
one.
experience, because you can't have philosophy purely in your head. That's called BS. Philosophy has to be based in reality.
Okay. Well, that's a good ending to the second point. What is the third quality that any man needs? A big dick?
The ability to defend themselves and their family.
Exactly. That's very important. The base for that is physical training, firstly, because the main reason women get raped more successfully than men is that they're just physically weaker. I'm sorry, LGBTQ community. I mean, that's the truth. There is no point in denying it. And yeah, physics.
It's like my fiance tells me how she wants to learn how to fight so that if a guy tries to do something to her, she can like beat him up. I have to try to explain to her that no matter how well you learn how to fight, the only guys you're gonna win against are like the skinniest, like really physically small, like any normal sized guy who doesn't even work out, but like does more than just sit and like degradate on a computer and like waste away and is like a wire. Any normal guy is gonna be able to beat you in a fight, unless you're like an Olympic level boxing girl.
Oh yeah. Like imagine, have you seen Amanda Nunes?
No,
She is
I need to
one
start
of
watching boxing and stuff.
she is a MMA fighter, like really brutal. I guess no one would want to rape her. Like, I mean, first of all, I don't think she's that beautiful, and second of all, I mean, the medical bill is going to be far too precious. She's too good.
I do think it's nice when girls are athletic though.
Like runners and swimmers, or
Um, as long as they're overall at a certain athleticism. Like personally, I'm not attracted to girls if they're below a certain athleticism. It just to me is a sign of poor health, and I don't want offspring from girls that aren't capable of a certain level of athleticism, since I'm very athletic myself.
okay. If I don't measure my next words carefully, this may be claimed as misogynist. So I guess you don't like weak girls.
I mean, my fiance isn't the most athletic, but she's certainly not the least.
Okay. I guess you're working on that.
Oh yeah, I am. She'll be in great shape in within 5 years.
Yeah. So
And that's a realistic approach. Like people think, oh yeah, I'm gonna work out and in 3 months I'm gonna like be no, you're not. Oh, I'm gonna buy a fitness program and in no, you gotta spend years or decades to get good great shape.
they feel like them giving money now will just give them automatically some abs or some big biceps and stuff like that, which is one of the spiritual parts of sport, that no matter how rich you are, sports is about something different. You don't just buy stuff there. Like, I know what people say about PADs and
They're not magic.
steroids and all those performance enhancing drugs, but really whoever says that someone's career success is just based on PADs, they really don't understand what sport is about. I
They've
mean,
never done it themselves.
they never done it successfully, let's say. Just some mediocre tryout attempt.
And for the record, so I actually just got my testosterone tested. My level was 520 nanograms per deciliter, I think the units are. And I'm in pretty good shape. Like, now, 520 nanograms per deciliter is on, it's right between the bottom. So you have a range, cut it into three. It's right between the bottom 1/3 and the second to bottom 1/3. So it's not very high. But if I walked side by side with a friend of mine who is currently on, I think he's taking, I can't remember if he lowered it down to 140 milligrams of testosterone per week, but he was on 250 milligrams of testosterone, a pretty solid amount, plus about 300 milligrams of nandrolone per week, plus little amounts of oral steroids every day. And if we walked side by side at the beach, every single person is going to point at me and say he's the one on steroids, because they're not magic. They may help, but what it comes down to is hard work and consistency over a long duration of time.
Well, 500 nanograms isn't actually a lot. I think the the top genetic elites have I've heard to have around 1000, 1200, and I've heard about individuals with even more natural testosterone.
I'm sure, like mine are, I consider them very low.
I think there are also other hormones that play more key role into building muscle, which or let's say proteins like myostatin. Myostatin is one thing that people really can't grasp their understanding around, because they don't know that there is a protein in our bodies that actually tells us to stop building muscle. And
It was a really, go
yeah,
on,
tell me.
a really cool idea that some scientists that worked for NASA had. Like, I wish I was currently working as a scientist, but I got to go to medical school. So what they did, instead of developing a drug to bind to and block the myostatin protein, which is usually the approach that's taken, they did something that reminds me of myself, how I think. You have to always be creative. So drugs that bind to it and deactivate, they just didn't work very good for whatever reason. So instead, they make copies of the myostatin protein. Just hold on. This was years ago that I read this. And so I think they made copies of the myostatin protein and would inject them into people or animals. I can't remember what the study was on.
Just take your time and remember, and you can
I
tell
just,
us about it. It's fine.
yeah, I'll have to mention on a future episode because I don't want to say the wrong thing, so don't quote me on this, but I think they made copies of it so that it would compete with the real protein. But no, that doesn't, yeah, I just can't remember because that wouldn't work.
Receptors, different chemical compounds compete for receptors. So it sounds logical, just like a flu can intervene with the coronavirus affecting someone. Just the same way they can mimic myostatin and inject someone with yeah, molecules that look like it but don't act the same way. Let's say if you take deca, decadurabulan, and some testosterone, it depends on how much of each are you taking, so you know which is binding more to the receptor. So it sounds very logical. By the way,
Yeah, I
you're
just
natural,
can't,
just to state.
can't yeah. I just can't remember the details. I don't like talking about things when I can't remember for sure. But what he said is very true, and people oftentimes don't realize this, that even if one drug binds much stronger to a target, if there's much more of the other one, it's simply going to be near the target more often than that stronger one, and therefore it's going to be bound to it more often. If you have a
Yeah,
thousand weaker ones and one stronger one, that stronger one doesn't have much of a chance to actually get to that target.
just like with food, you have a glycemic index and you have overall score of the food, how much insulin will secrete the body. So you can eat something small like 20 grams of chocolate, and you can eat, let's say, 200 grams of rice, and you'll have more insulin secreted from the rice than from the chocolate. I mean, that's a good example, I think.
Yep. And I love
Okay.
talking about this stuff, but we should probably get back to the self-defense stuff.
Yeah, we were actually going to talk about self-defense, and we started diving into physical training because that's the bare minimum. Before you're a martial artist, first you have to have basic physical abilities. The question is, what physical ability do you think is most important for self-defense?
Well, you know what's really interesting is my MMA coach, who's 19 years old and he won a world championship recently for pancration. Do you know if
Pancre
that's some sort of
Pancrase, yeah. That's the the sport. Pancrase was made in ancient Greece. It's basically MMA.
oh, okay, so he won a world championship for the junior division up to like 22 or something years old, and he's never worked out in a gym, but he's in pretty good shape. Like he has muscular development, like he doesn't look like a bodybuilder or anything, but like he does pretty good at that. Like if maybe he would do better if he worked out in the gym, but he's able to win that world championship without ever having gone to a gym. But he does do exercises like ab exercises, and like when you do planks and one arm planks.
That's pretty strange because MMA is big part wrestling, and in wrestling, you know what the drills are. They're not like not physical exercises. So
It's interesting. There's actually another world champion there. I don't know for what class or what federation, but this guy's also pretty skinny. Like he's toned, but like if you looked at both of these guys, you wouldn't think they could be world champions because they don't look that strong. Like they're in shape, but they don't work out.
well, not everyone fights like Tyson, let's say.
Technique is very important as well. Like strength is certainly important, and I'm no expert at MMA, but technique is definitely important as well.
I am not saying technique is not important. Strategies, in my opinion, is the most important attribute for winning a fight. But what I asked was, what do you think is the most important physical ability? Like, is it endurance? Is it strength? Is it speed? What is it?
I think you need a combination of endurance and strength. Strength is probably number one, but if you have zero endurance, someone can just easily outlast you.
Yeah,
If you
that's
miss your
true.
opportunity to end it quickly, you're screwed if you don't have a lot of strength. I mean, if you don't have a lot of endurance.
Yeah, so we can definitely say that the most important quality for winning a fight is endurance first. Second is strength, because strength over carries to speed. So we're basically fitting explosive strength and the speed on second place. I mean, ultimate strength is important as much as you need to push it. It pushes all the abilities up. When you increase ultimate strength, you get all abilities up to a certain degree, of course. We definitely see that world strongest men aren't the most durable people, but they're certainly more durable than powerlifters.
Yeah, I've got bad shoulders now from lots of injuries, but it reminds me of when I was in high school, we would race in the wrestling room. And because I was the most muscular and big, I wouldn't bother slowing down to turn, like we would go back and forth. I wouldn't slow down towards the end. I would just turn to my side, slam into the wall, bounce off, and run the other direction to give myself that like 1 second advantage. And we would play these games, and I would just plow through people because having muscle and your bones get stronger as well when you work out with heavy weights. It really gives you a big defensive advantage.
Yeah, one in my opinion, one of the fights of Khabib Nurmagomedov was lost, even though the judges gave him the win. The other guy stopped Khabib. I mean, he couldn't take him down even once. The guy is from Brazil. His name is Clayson Tibau, and he was incredibly muscular at this point of his career. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and obviously his takedown defense was really solid. If Khabib couldn't take him down, I don't know who could. So I guess strength is incredibly important, in my opinion. Actually, I thought this long ago when I was going to amateur kickboxing competitions. My trainer always told me that I should not train so much strength, but something in me, something was telling me that I had to be stronger than the other people. And that actually helped me a lot. I remember my first fight, I won with a knockout. And the interesting thing is that I knocked out the other guy with the left straight. I mean, that's not very often when you're fighting at 63 kilos. Like how strong of a left jab you need to have to knock out someone with a jab.
I'm maybe I'm wrong and I feel myself wrong, but I've also just started with MMA. But when I do left jabs, they don't feel very strong, and I'm a pretty strong guy.
I think you need to work on the jab. The jab, it's the point at which you hit the person. You need to step with your front leg in the same time on the ground, and that
Yeah.
timing is going to give you the strength of the punch.
So I think
So
something key to take away from what you were saying about you always knew you had to be strong is that you need to take your advantages where you can get them. You don't want to leave any avenue untouched because you're just throwing away opportunity to be even better.
I always measure how not someone, but not how heavy he is, but how strong he is. That's how I measure.
Really important.
Yeah, because measuring weight doesn't tell you that much unless the other guy has like a 100 kilo advantage or 50 kilo advantage.
I think it's a combination of weight and strength because, at least for me, if I wrestle someone who's considerably heavier than me, let's say even just 10 kilos heavier, I can really feel it. Like I can still beat them, like if they're not that strong or not that good. But like, man, even 10 kilos makes a big difference in how hard it is to do stuff.
If you're letting them lean and take your power away, of course they're going to feel like a burden. But if you use their own weight against them, let's say if you when you have underhooks on his shoulders, you pull him back, so you make him step forward, and when he steps forward, you push his leg with your leg, and that's how you take him down. You just trip him with his own weight.
Something related to this that I find very interesting is as you get stronger and heavier, because I think it's a combination of strength and weight, um, you start to look at people differently. Like when I was younger and I saw someone who is 6 foot tall or 6'1" or 6'2", I was like, whoa, they're really big. And now it's like, I often like completely don't realize that somebody's 6'1". And I started asking people like, how tall are you? Just because like I look at them as like my same size, but then I realize, they're actually quite a bit taller than me. But I don't think about it like much anymore because my strength and my weight put me on level ground with them. So I was
Yeah,
surprised like when my MMA coach told me that he's like almost 6'1". I'm not sure exactly how tall he is, but like between 6 foot, like I think he's like 181 centimeters.
181. Okay, that sounds like 6 foot.
About
And
six.
yeah,
And
so
nowadays, unless someone's like 6'3", I don't see them as like a really big, dangerous threat. 6'3" with a lot of mass.
yeah, basically you're describing a villain from a Yuri Boyka movie.
I'm
You know
guessing
this
Blake is still one. I've watched those movies, but I don't remember some really big guy. Maybe I haven't
well,
seen one of the movies.
one of them is going to fight very soon with the guy called the Iranian Hulk. I don't know if you heard about him.
I
He's
have.
basically a very fat guy that used Photoshop to make him look like a very buff
Mhm.
guy. So
It's a joke.
yeah, it's the guy is the either retarded or the best throw on the planet.
Hey, you probably made a lot of money off the social media marketing.
Yeah, to pay for his hospital bill. So
We've covered that
about
you need.
self-defense, I want to ask you how what's happening with your training? Are you doing sparrings?
So I did some group lessons for a few weeks, but for a combination of reasons, I decided to switch to only private lessons. So reason one, I don't know the technique yet. And group lessons, while you do go over technique briefly, it's largely exercising and then sparring with each other. Um, and I don't find it that helpful to do the sparring matches if I'm just using brute strength all the time and no technique. I want to improve, not just keep overpowering people. I want to learn the technique. The other reason is I'm dieting down for a bodybuilding competition, which means my body has less recoverative ability. In those sparring matches, uh, they put a lot of wear and tear on me. And it's surprising because I remember when I was in high school and I did wrestling, I never felt wear and tear on my body. It is a different sport, and I was younger. Like, I don't remember people getting injuries much. Like, one guy did tear his ACL. I ended up tearing a lot of stuff in my shoulder. Um, but it's like this MMA course. So far, every person I've talked to has had an injury that they had to sit out for months. And like when someone was on top of me, when you wrap your legs in and like you
Put the
do
hooks
stuff on,
in.
yeah, and you try to like keep them down, I can always overpower them and stand up. And I try to be nice in the practice matches. Like I'm not going to just jump with all my weight on them and try to hurt them. But when they're pulling as hard as they can and pushing on my back, like I don't know if I popped some ribs out of place or something, but like this whole area has been like it was when I woke up the day after it first happened. I went to get out of bed and it was like, oh, that doesn't feel good.
That
I just
sounds like
decided
a
I'll just
disc
lay back
prolapse.
down. What?
That sounds like a disc prolapse.
But it's weird. It's on the side mostly.
Well, discs can pop on the side, in the front, and the back. I don't know what's so strange about that.
No, I know they can do that, of course. It's like my rib cage is where the pain is, not my spine.
it's you know, the nerves are going to the side, and the
Yeah.
thing and the liquid, I don't know how to call it. The inside of the disc is pushing on the nerve. So what what is so strange about it? I mean,
There's
you're
nothing
getting
strange about it. I just haven't had many back issues in my life, so I wasn't thinking too much that it was my spine since I feel it not on my spine.
welcome to Snap City.
Yeah, I'll go get maybe an MRI done. I recently got a lot of blood work, but I'll ask one of my professors if they can write me a prescription for an MRI. But if they're anything like professors in the United States, they'll be like, well, I'm not your doctor, so I think you need to go see somebody else. Like, why not just be helpful, be a decent person, be helpful, right? I mean, like, what's so horrible about giving someone permission to see their own body? But they haven't done that yet, so we'll see. I also want to get a coronary artery calcium scan.
Yeah, I think that is important. Even though there was one bodybuilder, John Meadows. I yeah, you know him.
He died from
He
blood clots, I think.
Yeah, and the my point is that he was constantly checking his blood work. Like not only when his first heart attack appeared, but before that, long many times. And which points me out that you actually, in my opinion, you don't know. You just have to
I
try
agree.
your best. I kind of use fear in order to push me into doing the right things.
And what you just said brings up a good point that I've talked about in a lot of, at least a couple YouTube videos, that this blood work you get done, it's just numbers on paper. It's blood work. It tells you about how stuff in your blood is. It doesn't tell you about your body. It has a correlation that can be strong or can be weak to what's going on in your body. But ultimately, it's not testing your body, it's testing your blood.
Yeah,
And
I
those
mean,
reference ranges, they're determined by the general population. How healthy do you think those people are? You want to be within the range of the general population? I don't.
oh my God. No, definitely not. But
It's horrible. If you're intelligent, you would only use like really healthy athletes. And after enough time, you would only use the ones that live a long life and you could exclude the ones that die early. And you make that the healthy range.
so you're going to discriminate people who died earlier, aren't you?
Yep, even if that's me, I hope I live a long time, but if I don't, I wouldn't put myself in the reference range of good, great values. Although every human body is very different, so you really can't make a reference range. Which reminds me, my dihydrotestosterone is literally off the chart. They couldn't tell me how high it is because they only measure up to like 1500, I think it's picograms per milliliter. They said the normal range is 250 to 990, and mine is somewhere above 1500.
Somewhere above.
Yeah, but they can't say where.
Well, the hydrotestosterone was basically responsible for the secondary male features.
Yeah, like
So,
facial hair growth, penis growth and development. I
yeah,
can
your
brag all
fiance
the
is a
girls.
happy woman.
Yep.
What about bone structure?
My bone structure,
No, the hydrotestosterone, does it affect bone structure?
I'm not sure actually. I know it's inactive in the muscles because enzymes convert it to something else.
Okay. So what does hair loss, what is hair loss caused by?
Dihydrotestosterone,
Too high or too low?
too high. My
Uh-huh.
dad has lost his hair. Luckily, my grandfather on my mother's side, he's 84. No, he's almost 85, and he still has all his hair.
Okay,
So
so
I'm
the
hoping
more manly you are, the less hair you have on your head, at least.
it's interesting because dihydrotestosterone is responsible for body hair growth, but also head hair loss. Yet some people can have extremely hairy bodies and keep the hair on their head.
Yeah, that's also true. By the way, since I became bald, I have hair on my traps, so I compensate in a way.
Yeah, you've got a lot of dihydrotestosterone, probably.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I don't think
Also,
my testosterone was very high when I was in puberty. I mean, if testosterone is responsible about how tall you're going to get?
no, high testosterone can actually make you stop growing sooner.
Okay. Well, it's fine. I'm happy anyway.
Yeah. But there's also one extra cool feature about dihydrotestosterone. It seems to have stimulatory effects on the central nervous system. So it can give you that extra like grit and energy and
Yeah,
drive.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I have extremely high dihydrotestosterone now. I see it very clearly. I always had problems with stopping to train. I never had problems with I didn't want to work out. I always had the problems that I could not stop training.
Yeah, it's hard when you're in the gym and you like lifting the weights, but you're like, well, it hurts now. Like there's this little thing that's going on. Maybe I should probably stop.
And I don't.
You know, you
I feel
gotta
it.
work on
I, f-
that.
I feel it like even yeah, I was the type of people who was screaming before in the gym and grunting, and I still am sometimes because I just like doing it. It's I saw it from one power lifter, Stan Efferding, and he was at one point the strongest bodybuilder, the strongest pro bodybuilder in America. So he explained it that when you're grunting in a controlled manner, you're increasing your core stability, you're
I
increasing
think
your
so.
bracing. So yeah, it
I
may
think
be annoying, but that's what I like doing.
I don't
Self-defense.
do it, but I
Okay.
think it's beneficial. So yeah, self-defense, you need technique, you need strength and mass.
And endurance.
Oh yeah, endurance, incredibly important. But then
For yeah.
because we don't live in the year 1000 or even the year zero, you also need to have other more advanced technological self-defense skills like how to use firearms, whatever kind it may. I mean, you should know how to use all firearms. You should know how to use, and it may sound extreme, but gas mask as well, body armor, but you don't need much skill to put that stuff on. You need practice with your gun. You need the muscle memory so that if you just go like this, you're going to hit your target without even aiming down the sight.
Yeah. I so far have been shooting with a sniper and with handguns only. I didn't shoot automatic weapons.
Maybe someday if you visit United States, you'll come shooting with me.
Definitely. I like shooting. I also have a bow, so I practice sometimes in my backyard. I like just using a bow because it's uh
Silent.
bit well, it's silent. Basically, if you use a silencer to any gun, it won't be
It's
as
loud.
yeah, it's loud. So
I've shot a
yeah,
22 with subsonic bullets with a silencer, and it was not loud, but that even makes a noise. Like if you're in a building that's not like playing loud music, even if you shot a subsonic 22 with a silencer, people are gonna hear it. I mean, it's not that loud, but people are gonna hear it.
yeah. So it's good to have some shooting skills with the bow. More for
Also,
for hunting, let's say.
kind of not the most important to talk about, but just cool fun fact. Apparently, 22 caliber bullets only have enough energy to enter the skull, not to exit. So they go in and they bounce around. So if you want
That's
to take somebody out, just do one of those to the head.
Oh yeah, and the ones that go through aren't going to do the job, huh?
I mean, well, actually, my grandfather was shot through the head as a child by the Germans in World War II, and he's 84 years old, still
Okay,
working 5, 6 days a week. I think he might only work 5 days a week now, but I'm not sure.
okay. Well,
But yeah,
I,
usually if you get shot in the head, you're gonna die.
yeah, I would try to avoid that.
I certainly would too.
When we're speaking about self-defense, I think people should be taking lessons from very good masters. Like there is one Romanian guy called Bas Rutten. He is also he. I mean, he's very famous. He was in UFC. I mean, from the old UFC fights, he was in the Japanese uh, MMA competitions, and the guy is just very honest with himself. So, for if someone wanted to learn about street fighting and how to defend themselves, I bet 1000% on that guy. Who do you bet on?
I don't know that guy. I'm just doing my best to find someone good to train me. And I figure that despite him only being 19 years old, my trainer is at least pretty good if he's won a world competition, although winning for junior division is a big difference, I think, than winning for all ages, because as people get older, they accumulate more skills and more strength. And when you're only against younger people, that is generally going to be weaker, less experienced people. So perhaps right now he's winning because he started learning MMA when he was like 5 years old and he's amazing at technique. But who knows, maybe if he went against someone who's 30 years old, who also has more strength, that he wouldn't do so good. I don't know. But for now, I'm learning from a junior world champion.
Well, I remember my transitioning from junior competition to fighting men, and I can say that the someone how strong a fighter is, it's not, in my opinion, of how old he is. I think the quality that the base quality of a good fighter is being persistent, is being just a hard, tough ass man. That's the most undesirable fight you want to have with. Like if I wanted to fight someone, I would choose someone technical and tall because I would think to myself, okay, it's gonna be hard. I'm going to get tired, but I'm not gonna get bombed. But if I select someone who is on my height with my weight, let's say, and he's furious and he just wants to bang, that's gonna be a very hard fight. So those people I try to avoid, but you can't avoid all the time. If you want to be the best or be at least decent good, you have to fight the strong fighters.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm not really looking forward to it because I don't like getting hit and getting hurt and stuff. But I think eventually I need to enter a tournament to really challenge myself, but not for a couple years or long, even more.
Well, if you have the tactic of the Dagestani fighters, that you basically take down the guy and you just mold them on the ground, you're not gonna take much punches at all. I would be
Ironically, I was
concerned if
actually,
you were going into kickboxing competition
boy,
because then you wouldn't be able to use wrestling.
okay. Ironically, what you just described is the technique I was thinking would work best for me because when I'm standing up, I don't do so well. But if I take somebody down, then I can just,
Ground and pound.
yeah.
Yeah, basically you need to learn the one skill. You take a guy and you full mount him, and only with your legs, you have to squeeze him and not let him get up. You need to be standing on your knees, in full mountain over him, and you need to just squeeze your legs around him. That's one exercise that will teach you how to handle people with your legs while you have your hands free to punch.
I guess I'm gonna start doing that hip machine in the gym.
Yeah, that's actually that would overcarry. I agree.
But I've also got to work on the opposite muscles because my legs do not spread well, so I cannot kick very high.
Okay. Well, if you're training the machine that opens the legs for kicking, I would suggest you don't do it isolated. You have to do it fast because the strength that you're going to use is more dynamic strength.
Yeah.
And even you can take an elastic band and put it on your legs so the resistance gets bigger when you open.
Yeah, I'll start doing something like this.
But why kick it anyway? Like people don't need too many kicks. You you can you have to kick someone who is on a very high level, and not to knock them out, but to make them think about the kick so you can set up another punch or a takedown. In basic level competition, you don't need anything else than just wrestling and ground and pound.
Good to know. So we've established that yes, you need to know how to defend yourself. You need strength, endurance, technique, strength, as well as knowledge of modern weapons and
Yes.
persistence. So what else do you think is important for being a man or for being masculine?
Well, for self-defense, or we're going to the next topic,
Do
to
you
the
think that
next.
we need to cover anything more in self-defense? Like, I mean, you could go as far as to say that you should do tactics training or like field exercises, like military exercises. Of course, that would be great, but I don't know that most people have the access to that.
I think being decisive and actually knowing what scenarios you can use in situations, I think that's very valuable. Like, let's say you're in a bank and you're going to, and there are people with guns coming in. I mean, you can't obviously do much there if you don't have any gun with you. You can just get shot. Of course, if they're too retarded, the robbers, you could do something, but not every time you should fight back. Sometimes you
Of
should just
course.
wait for the, like, you can't fight if you're Ukrainian and you go and you throw just a cocktail Molotov on a tank. That's just, I don't know. It's very sketchy to me. You're just drawing attention, so you just get blown up.
I mean, honestly, I would much rather be on the street with Molotov cocktails and inside a tank.
The tank won't happen anything to him by just one cocktail Molotov. But
Yeah, but
you're
there's groups of them that just they got like
oh
10, 15 on the tank.
that yeah, I wouldn't be also the guy who is in the tank. I'm just saying that there's just some situations you just have to not do anything.
Yeah, actually,
Strategy.
I've avoided lots of fights in my life that I probably would have lost just by talking with the people and connecting with them and actually like laughing and joking with them. And then it's like, see you later.
I guess self-defense means if you defend your family, not only if you kill the bad guys.
Yeah, what use is it if you kill them after they kill your family?
Yeah, or revenge. Then you're also more masculine by Hollywood's projection.
Yeah, but it's useless, sadly. Like, of course,
Uh,
I'd still want to get revenge, but
what
much
if
rather
you're
have my
Steven
family.
Seagal?
I like Steven Seagal.
Yeah, but then it works. Then you could have actually some use in revenging your family. You can make like 15 movies of that.
I think it's funny. Everyone makes fun of the guy, But just because he's fat now at what 50 years old or whatever doesn't mean that he was not an actual I don't know if he was a real martial artist or not, but just because you're fat at 50 years old does not mean you were never in shape, never athletic, never a good martial artist.
You know who is Jean-Claude Van Damme, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's also in a great shape right now. Like
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone is in great shape. It's just some people don't have it. It's a very good extra to have, I
Something
would say.
changed about him from his youth, clearly. Because some people
Okay.
stick with being masters of their body and some people just let go.
Yeah, I don't think I'm the ones who will let go.
I don't think so either, because it make me disgusted by myself.
I will pause the video for a moment, by the way.
Okay.
Helping people helped me more than me helping myself.
I like helping people. So
I started the video again.
okay, so I did not measure the circumference of my biceps. Too bad. So the final thing that I think we both think is very important for being a man, well, maybe you don't like this idea, financial resources, largely financial resources, because in this modern day and age, if you don't have money, you're left defenseless in a lot of situations, and you don't have the ability to do things that can drastically change your survivability. Easy, simple example is if you're completely broke, you can't buy a gun. If you're broke, you can't buy a plane ticket. If you're broke, there's a lot of things. I mean, you're overall, if you're poor, let's just say, you're going to be in a much worse survival position than if you're wealthy.
Let's be honest about it. How many people can you help if you're broke?
It's very hard.
So if you're broke, you can't help anyone, much less save the world.
And another thing is like if you're broke, perhaps you can't even afford the right nutrition for your own body.
Yeah, or for your children if you have some.
Yeah.
So,
I want my children growing up on perfect food and nutrition and exercise.
okay. When we're on that topic, tell me, if you had a child, what would you start feeding it with?
So I'm not an expert on babies. I would want it to start with breast milk, of course. I want my wife to only eat healthy foods and no caffeine, no alcohol, no cigarettes, no nothing. Very minimal sugar. I'd want her to not have any processed sugars. So my wife's starting out diet when she's breastfeeding would be pretty much the same as my baby's diet once it switches to actual food, which would be high in fish, red meat, some chicken in there too, nuts, and vegetables.
Okay, that's your way. That's your way. I think I will do the same, pretty much the same thing without nuts, and maybe not all types of vegetables. I mean, it's.
Which ones?
I think that there are certain vegetables that we need to eat and certain that we should avoid. Like the oxalate type should be avoided. The ones who contain more calcium oxalate, because that's 70% of all kidney stones.
Probably if they're eaten in moderation, it's not a big deal, but I'm not sure.
Basically, if you want to avoid calcium oxalate buildup in your kidneys, you have to consume your green leafy vegetables with lemon juice.
Yeah, the citric acid chelates, as it's called, the oxalate and helps it exit your body.
Yeah, absolutely. You see, there is a reason why people put lemon juice on salad. So let's say we already know what is the best diet to have. What would you say to all the vegan tarts that think that you should only eat vegan and you shouldn't eat meat and that you should basically be herbivore?
Say, are you a cow? You go moo. Like,
Moo?
what are you? Is there
Yeah.
something wrong with your head? You think you're not a human? Like, what's going on here? Humans need variety of things, including meat. You're not a cow. You're not a dog. You're a human.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
there's
it's
a plethora of scientific evidence that eating only plants is insane. I mean, it's possible if you have the most complex plant diet to get adequate stuff in you, but it's a lot easier if you just eat what you're supposed to eat.
yeah, and not have the base vitamins or at 30% conversion rate to your first you have malabsorption. You have like for many plant proteins, you have the max 40 to 50% absorption of the protein.
And here's another issue. So first you have that absorption, then you get a lot of these, so it's the complete protein problem. And you get a lot of these vegans going, but I get complete proteins. I mix these beans with this whatever, and I have a complete protein. It doesn't matter whether you have a complete protein or not. It matters what ratio of everything you have. So if you have 8,000, 5,000, 52, 400, 2, well, that 2 and that 52 are going to be the rate limiting, I mean, the amount limiting things. You can only build as much as that 2 of that one thing allows for. You can have a ton of everything else, but if you have a low amount of something, despite it technically making it a complete protein because you have some of it, you have so little
Like
of it, you're going to limit everything.
like BCAA, basically the most important compound was the lectin.
I don't know about lectin being in BCAAs, but
Not
I
leptin. There was 3 amino acids in BCAA. The first one was the most important.
isoleucine probably.
Yeah, leucine, actually,
Leucine.
leucine. Yeah. So basically, in Denmark, there is uh, amino acids that are more than 4:1 ratio are forbidden.
So personally, I am a very anti-BCAA person because BCAAs, they're not adequate for building your muscles. They're adequate for providing drug-like stimulus to increase protein synthesis. But guess what good that protein synthesis increase does if you don't have the amino acids to build the proteins? It does you no good. So it's much better just to have hydrolyzed whey protein, which means it's already individual amino acids, doesn't need to be digested. And you drink your hydrolyzed whey protein powder and you get all the amino acids you need to build muscles. And you get all those BCAAs included in it. And it costs less money.
Well, we were addressing the thing about having money. I mean, we already mentioned that having money and resources is important. I think in information, having enough information is also incredibly important to me.
Knowledge is
Or
power.
yeah, but I think I can generalize it even more. I can just call it the ability to gather information is very important for being successful at anything.
I can think of a great example. I've been reading medical studies since I was, I think, 13 years old. I started reading them much more when I was 14 years old. But I've read so many medical studies, and when I first started, I looked up every word I didn't know. So my vocabulary allowed me to search things and to find things. Most people, even doctors, people, or as I like to call them, people who work as doctors, generally don't even have the vocabulary to type the words that are going to get the search results for what they really want to find. And for me, I'm even like, sometimes there's some advanced science topics and I know what I want to search, but I don't know the words for it. Knowing those words to put in a search engine are extremely powerful.
I think this is a skill that people develop with the search engine. I was basically, when I was first introduced to Googling stuff, I was really weak at it. I didn't know how to address anything. And right now I just know, you just type in the keywords, like if you want to know how much calories there is in an apple, you write apple calories. That's it.
You know what's funny is now, because so many, dare I call them, dumb people or ignorant people who search like, why is blah blah, and they just type like a full-on verbal question but typed in the search thing. Now Google even has like, those are like the most common searches, so they give you the search results as if you typed in the keywords, because Google has adapted to realizing that so many people don't know the keywords, that a lot of common topics, that like even if you type the first couple words of a sentence, it like can autofill your whole sentence for this question.
I think that's actually helpful. Of
Yeah,
course,
it is.
if there weren't so many independent, qualified fact checkers.
Yeah, people are lazy nowadays. They just want to read that very first result on Google.
Yeah. And then they can say you're a conspiracy theorist and your own research is bullshit and you have to go to prison for killing my grandma.
And what
Now,
you saw and experienced in your own life, that's not true. This
your
paper says
eyes,
it's not true.
yeah, well, who would you believe, Fauci or your own eyes?
Who do I believe? My friend in Ukraine or the New York Post that just writes some stuff and everyone, oh, well, they said it, it must be true.
Nah, the New York Post is the best. I'm telling you, they wouldn't lie about anything. I mean, it's not like they're being sponsored by some rich people and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I think that's the one where the owner decided to publish articles about himself to make himself look really good. Is that the
Yeah,
one that Jeff Bezos owns? Do you
the New
know?
York Post.
Yeah. He
I have
bought one
no
of them.
idea, but I think he has enough money to own everything he wants.
Yeah. People don't realize that these news sources they watch, it's not just a group of wholehearted people who want to, oh, we really need to show what's really happening and tell the people. No, these are owned by very, very rich, powerful people and groups, and they tell them, you're going to write this.
So they can results from studies can be falsified very easily. But
And
we're
then
not
another
talking
issue,
about studies right now.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
I could
mean,
bring up some issues, but perhaps we'll say that in a different video with medical studies.
oh yeah, I was reading the study about how anabolic steroids can make you bigger without you exercising, and
Can, but not that much, and it's mostly water weight, probably.
I just studied it and I understood that they weren't taking in account what people were working, how much were they walking, Are they walking stairs? And how much is their actually their physical load? Because I know people or friends, like I have one friend here that is a carpenter, and he stays in very good physical condition just because he's a carpenter. Him without training, he flipped up a 350 kilo tire.
Wow.
He flipped a 350 kilo tire just by working as a carpenter. That's like multiplied by 2, I guess.
Yeah, 2.2.
Yeah. So it's not something light.
Very heavy.
I was amazed because he just flipped it. I mean, I was training for that. Come on, man, I was fucking training for that and he just flipped it. So there must be something more than just anabolic steroids making them bigger. I think that they didn't take in equation also, like there are people in coma. If they inject those people with steroids, they will not grow.
Yeah,
Best
they'll shrink slower, but they're not going to grow.
Yeah, so that's my issue with that study, that it just wants people to believe in the
I think
strength
it
of
was largely
steroids.
water weight,
Yeah,
because most people I know that have taken steroids that turn into estrogen, they gain like 10 pounds really quickly. Even a friend of mine, when he takes creatine, gains like 15 pounds of
are you
water.
sure it's only creatine?
Yeah, he's never taken anything, and he'll go on and off creatine, and yeah.
That's a lot.
What's really crazy is, it's like we already mentioned how my testosterone was like 520 nanograms per
Deciliter.
deciliter. Yeah, that's not very high. My friend can bench 400. How high do you think his testosterone is? 400 pounds.
I have no idea.
Would you think that it's probably on the high end or the low end?
I would think that if someone has that much upper body strength, they would have higher testosterone. Yeah.
He's like always right around the same as me. We are like 400 to 500 nanograms per deciliter.
Is it possible that the hydrotestosterone has something to do more with strength?
While it is inactive in the muscles for muscle building, it's possible that the effect on the central nervous system allows you to contract your muscles stronger.
That's true, because the more you're hyped up, the more weight you can push or pull.
But what's interesting is, like, when I was younger, I would drink coffee before the gym because it helped me. But nowadays, it doesn't help me. But yeah, in general, if you stimulate the central nervous system, it will help you to push harder, get better muscle contractions.
Are you consuming caffeine other than coffee?
I bought this pre-workout bottle of liquid that in 10 milliliters has 80 milligrams of caffeine, got some sort of form of choline and some vitamins, and I take like 5 to 10 milliliters of that. I know it's not very much caffeine. I don't consume much caffeine.
Well, that's good. I mean, if you continue consuming a lot, it will not have an effect on you.
Yeah.
I think that's actually protective, because if the body didn't get more tolerance to caffeine, that would exhaust its reserves very fast.
It sucks. All drugs, your body adapts to not respond to them as much and to excrete them faster. But the bottom line is the drugs become less effective.
Yeah, unfortunately. How much time are we recording already?
I think about an hour and a half, but I'm not sure. So
I
I think we
it's
can wrap this up.
yeah, we can finish it. I'm really happy that I was discussing the most important key features of being a man here today with you. I'm really happy because this is in my opinion, a really good start. We just need to do it more often and to help much more people.
Yeah, I think as we do it more and more, we'll get better at, like, although it seems like it should be so easy to make podcasts, I do think that no matter what you do, how simple it is, that you improve the more you do it. And certainly there is certain traits about podcasts that make them better or worse. And I'm sure that ours will improve in quality as time goes on. Not that it's bad right now, but yeah, I'm certain they'll only get better.
We need to think on better lighting.
Yeah, perhaps.
So yeah, I would want to say something to our viewers, if we get any viewers. We will be here for you constantly, and we will not let you down. We are here to make you succeed, because when you succeed, we succeed.
It's nice to have, well, actually, we forgot something very important, but I think we should save it for the next episode. Why masculine men are important to have in the world. Because that's the reason why we're doing this, because it's very important for there to be real men.
I think there is importance to any type of character, but everything should be into the right ratio. If you don't have enough masculine men, this society will not work. And
Yep,
as
that's
we're
true.
seeing it lately, the masculinity is declining in many people.
And I think they want it to decline. Much easier to take control and manipulate people who aren't masculine, self-driven, and when they get told to do something that's ridiculous, go, what? Screw you. I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
That's
Actually,
very misogynistic of us to say, but it's true.
it's funny as my fiance, she gets a little bit bothered by how I don't listen to people just because they tell me something. Like, we went into a restaurant the other day and there's a bunch of open tables. So I go in and I sit down and the girl comes up to me and starts telling me how, oh, all these tables are reserved. And like my fiance is kind of like, oh, Andrew, come on, stop. It's like, don't sit there. And it's like, I told the girl, and I'm telling my fiance, all the tables are open. It's crazy. Like, I don't put up with craziness. And everyone's not going to come in at all the same time and sit down at the tables. Whole place is open. Like, also, we weren't going to sit down for very long. We're just going to eat quickly and walk to the train station. But yeah, I don't just listen to people because they tell me something. And she told me, like, Andrew, you try to be like an animal. No, I don't try to be like an animal. I just don't like to be like a pussy gets pushed around and like, oh, okay, I'll listen to you.
An animal. Yeah, she sounds very classically feminine, which is good.
I mean, she's not a feminist, luckily. I wouldn't be with her if she was. But yeah, she's very polite. But actually, she's thanked me that I've helped her to be less polite and more confident and stand up for herself. Like during the summer, she had to call someone from the government of like the Ministry of Internal Affairs or something to ask about the details of me being able to stay in the country. And even I could hear, like, she didn't have him on speaker, but I could hear this guy started to like yell at her and stuff. And she said, can you talk to me normal? And the guy stopped and like said, oh, okay. And then he talked normal. But you shouldn't just let people push you around.
Yeah, that's the ability to stand up for yourself.
So
Even
nice talking to everybody.
Yeah,
We'll be back.
and we'll be bigger than before.
Oh, and check out my website, andrewhutchings.org, where you can hire me for not medical advice, but medical information. The key difference is it's medical advice if I tell you what to do. It's medical information if I just give you the information. As well as that, I have coaching. He also has coaching, fitness plans, consultations, anything, diet plans. And I have a book, A Systematic Guide to Defeating Tendinitis. You can buy it on Amazon, on barnesandnobles.com. Just type it in on Google and see what's the best for you.
I think I'll buy that book. I need to resolve some elbow tendonitis issues.
I can have my parents send it to you so you get it cheaper. Because
Nice.
I do make a profit on it, believe it or not. Like, it's the best thing you can spend your money on if you have tendinitis. But I did spend time to write that book. I paid money to publish that book. I pay money for each individual book that comes out. So I mean, I can't just give it away for free. Plus, I do want to make a little bit of money. It's on the highest quality paper I could choose with the highest quality cover, because I wasn't going to put excellent information on junk.
Is it made from human skin?
They didn't have that option.
Damn it. So yeah, you can search for Andrew Hutchings on andrewhutchings.com and you can
AndrewHutchings.org.
.org. Yeah, andrewhutchings.org. And you can find me on my Instagram, where sometimes I post crazy stories. Gods of War 1.
And my
That's
Instagram,
basically it. Have a good biceps, everyone. And we'll see you next time.